How do I start a video? It's just now occurring to me that I don't start videos because all of my uploads are completion videos. Hi! So, as many of you may have noticed, I have not been uploading much at all. As a matter of fact, I haven't beaten an extreme in over a month, and the only thing I have uploaded, I think, in the past month is a verification for my buddy Dario on his new solo level. Please go check that out, it's fantastic. But I wanted to sort of break down where I'm at with GD right now and sort of give my thoughts on the update, because I'm not a fan of a lot of this update and the way that this update's been handled so far. And I just want to kind of voice my thoughts so that anyone who cares knows where I have been, and so that, you know, I think there are some people in the same boat I'm in with this whole update, and I just want to sort of express my thoughts maybe so that people who aren't in the same boat I am kind of understand where I'm coming from with some of my frustrations with this update, and so the people that are in the boat I am maybe feel more like they have someone out there that's sort of in their corner. You know what I mean? So, 2.2, I want to start out with the very good. There are some things in 2.2 I like a lot, right? The achievements being way higher feels very fun. It makes sort of long-term star grinding play feel rewarding. Before, the achievements cut off at a point that was rewarding to get to, but it was like, if you really do dedicate yourself to this game, those achievements were very manageable. Now it feels like there are some sort of stretch goals, especially with like the demon achievements, the star achievements, the moon achievements, right? It feels like there are some stretch goals, which is nice. I really appreciate that. The new icons that came out, I mean, I can't complain about that. That's just straight up more content in the game. There are some really cool ones. I really wish that the little like ball, the bubble ball, where it's like your mini cube in the ball, I wish that was a swing copter. Because that's just so much more cool thematically, because if you're like swinging in a ball, like a bubble, it floats. It makes sense, people. I don't know why it wasn't. It makes me so sad that that's a ball. I might have to get a texture pack and put that in. We'll figure it out. But icons are great, colors are great. I like that. I like being able to separate your glow color. I think that's been used really interestingly on a few different profiles. One of my buddies has like gray icons with like a green glow. That looks sick. So I'm very happy about that. Shops making diamonds useful is great, because diamonds are no longer just sort of a nothing currency in the game, right? Those matter now. I appreciate that greatly. New shards, that's awesome. Opening all of the demon chests was so much immediate dopamine. Paths are great. It sort of rewards star grinding. You can work towards unlocking stuff. Lists are cool. I like lists. Lists are like sort of perfect because they're both practical and they can get rated and give you the reward, right? Because like I found a list of like easy user coins, and I just played through some of the levels in that list I hadn't yet beaten and got some user coins for it. And it's like, that's really cool. I'm very glad that's sort of a functionality that exists in the game, right? That's really nice. I guess, other thing, there's some new editor stuff that's kind of interesting and cool. I'm very excited to see what people end up making with the new editor capabilities. But right around there is where most of the highlights for the things I enjoy about the update end. I mean, there are some other minor things. I think the new gauntlets, we knew they were coming. I'm glad they're there. I get free demons for beating levels I've already beaten. Great, not going to complain. That's cool. Super stoked about that. But there are just a lot of things in this update that have sort of infuriated me and have made the game really demotivating for me, to the point where I was working on, I'll let you in on a little secret that's not really a secret. I was working on Spectrum Cyclone before this update dropped, and I was hoping I could get it done before the update, and I had assumed that, well, Rob, of course, is not going to actually release this update before the new year, so I'll have time. Surprise! Like, the day after I really started seriously going from zero, the update dropped, and then why the fuck would I play Spectrum Cyclone? When the updates dropped, let's do update things. And then I realized I didn't like the update things, and I haven't even touched Spectrum Cyclone since. I just have not had any motivation to even open the level and see if it's functional. Which brings me to my first point, the physics changes. This was the single most mind-boggling thing about this update to me. Rob says, listen, we're going to have standardized physics in 2.2. Everything's going to play like 240 and also kind of like 60. Okay, fair enough, right? Everything's going to play like 240 and kind of like 60. It's weird, but it'll be consistent. Everyone will have the same physics. That'll be nice, right? But for old levels, there's going to be legacy physics options so that they all still work, right? And maybe with a few different levels, there'll be minor little bugs to fix, but, we'll get those ironed out, and then we'll be good to go. And the update drops, and like 50% of the extreme demons in the game just don't function. As do a very large handful of Insanes, Hards. I mean, literally, like, any level could have been broken by this update. And that just, that blows my mind. That blows my mind. There are some very obvious issues. Like slopes, jumping off of a slope does not work as it used to. Like a steep slope, holding off of a steep slope and jumping does not work like it used to, right? At all. And that's something that, I'm sorry, you cannot call that a good change for the game. You just can't, because that's taking a default mechanic, a default behavior, and fundamentally altering it for no reason. None whatsoever, right? That's dumb. That's just dumb. That's really stupid. And if it was a thing that... I have thoughts about this I'm going to get to later, whatever, but that's stupid. There's some other stuff, though. There are a ton. I have a list. I have a whole list of all of the things that I've encountered so far that are just completely broken or behave completely differently in 2.2 than they do in 2.1 that we do not have Legacy 2.1 settings for. Because there are a few very specific things that Rob gave us Legacy settings for. The gravity bug. Apparently it was a bug, where upside down ship and UFO were heavier than right side up ship and UFO. And he's added a fix for that. So you can toggle, do you want old upside down ship or new upside down ship, right? And you know what? Fair enough, Rob. That's a really nice compromise, I think. And if that was the only thing we had to worry about, we'd be super cool. That'd be great. You know what I mean? That'd be awesome. But there are so many other things he completely removed from the game and did not give us an option for. A great example, robot jumping off of a slope used to launch you way into the stratosphere, and that was used in a bunch of levels. The first one that comes to mind is Dolos, right around the 80-ish, you do a jump off of a slope as the robot. That's just not possible anymore. You just can't do it. It just doesn't work. As far as I know, Dolos is update locked for God knows what reason, so, that's going to be a fun endeavor for the creators if they want to, comply with new physics. Whatever, that's a whole nother thing. But there's just a bunch of other stuff. Like, if you're moving up on a platform and you hit a jump pad, you used to be able to jump again in midair before you started falling. That was a bug that happened in Deadlocked and a bunch of other rated levels, but it was also used as a mechanic in a few levels. I'm pretty sure the Lost Existence's coin uses that gimmick or something. I don't know, but it had been used in levels for sure. Ball sticking when it hits its head. If you click or hold as the ball hits its head on a platform, it sticks to that platform. That was removed. No toggle for that. Just tons of shit that had been used in really cool gimmick levels or just kind of used in normal levels just didn't work anymore. And their solution was not, hey, let's have Rob put the fixes into the game so that old levels work. Their solution was, let's have a small team of moderators go around and just manually fix any levels that need fixed. And listen, if we were talking 1 out of every 10,000 levels was broken, fair. Honestly, that's totally acceptable, right? If a few random levels here and there had teeny tiny bugs we needed to sort out, and the actual way in which you play the level wasn't fundamentally altered, cool. That's a great solution. But as we saw when the update dropped, that is not what happened at all. I mean, Windy Landscape is just it's a 240 frame perfect now. If you want to pass that slope jump at the start, that's bonkers. That's crazy, right? We cannot have this be the solution anymore. The solution cannot be manually editing levels to fix the problem that Rob ultimately caused. Right? For several reasons. One, imagine there's a big convention where people are making cool Lego things, and then some guy comes in and breaks all the Lego things and says, well, don't worry, my 5 buddies back here are going to help you fix all of your Lego things. It's no, you broke the Lego things, you figure out how to fix the problem. Absolutely not, right? That's so fucked up. But it also completely leaves behind any unrated levels, right? There's just no chance any unrated levels are going to get any help from this. So either an unrated level is made by a creator who's still active and cares about the game and wants their level to be playable so they change it, or it's made by someone who hasn't touched a game in God knows how long, and you cannot beat it. Too bad, so sad. That sucks, right? That super sucks. So we need a solution that is actually implemented in the game, and not one that's done patchwork by a team of mods and any creators who happen to care. Right? That's dumb. The other big issue I have with this, right, is the attempt to make physics consistent cost the game its consistency. Let me explain. Before 2.2, Upside Down Ship had different gravity than Right Side Up Ship, same with UFO. There were some other weird quirks about the game that just sort of seemed weird or odd. But if you learned and understood those quirks, the game behaved perfectly consistently. Upside Down Ship has this kind of gravity. Right Side Up Ship has this kind. They're not the same, but no matter what level you play, that's how ship behaves, right? With this new consistency change, right, Upside Down and Right Side Up Ship have the same gravity. Lovely. That's great. But when I play a level, I don't know whether the Upside Down Ship I'm approaching has old or new gravity. There's no way to tell. None whatsoever, right? I have to figure it out on the fly. That's not consistent, right? There's no amount of training or practice that can prepare you for that. You just have to figure it out. That's so dumb to me. That's just that's mind-bogglingly stupid. Yes, sure, any levels made from now on are going to be consistent. That's great. But, that's not consistent with how the game used to be played. So now when I play a level, I don't know how to play it. Do you see what I'm saying, right? The little bit of coyote time you used to get on Upside Down stuff. Do I have that in the level I'm currently playing? I don't know. I have no idea, and there's no way to find out, except die to it at some point, right? Or get lucky. It's we got consistent physics, but at the cost of the game itself being consistent, right? And that drives me up a wall, because now I can't... It's actually an impossibility to get good enough at the game to where everything is 100% under the player's control, right? I mean, I guarantee you there are going to be extreme demons made in 2.2 that use Legacy 2.1 physics. There are probably going to be 5 stars made in 2.2 that use the Legacy 2.1 physics because the creators know that the dedicated player base that existed before this update got used to the bugged Upside Down Ship, right? And even for a new player, this isn't a benefit for them, because they're going to run into the same issue and they're going to understand it even less, right? If little Timmy picks up his phone and plays a level with new Upside Down Ship and then goes and plays an old level with old Upside Down Ship, he's going to be really confused why this old Upside Down Ship feels so gross compared to the new one, right? This isn't a boon for anyone in the community. This is just going to aggravate. I do not get it. I really, truly do not understand it. And yes, I get that for platformer you need the Upside Down and Right Side Up to be the same, but then just make that the case in platformer, right? And keep classic the way it was. Don't fuck with it, right? We've worked around it for 6 years now, and it's really not that big a deal. It's not. It's really not. That just genuinely, that blew my mind. That in order to make the game consistent, we have to make the game inherently not consistent with itself. That hurt me a little bit. I was just this is stupid, this is dumb. And it's all the more annoying because we don't know if any of the issues that these physics changes caused are going to be fixed. We have absolutely no transparency from RobTop or anyone on the mod team that's been in contact with him, anyone that had the beta, on whether or not things like jumping off of a slope are going to behave how they used to, or even are we going to get a toggle for it, right? It's just so annoying that there's a disable 2.1 changes checkbox that disables exactly 1, maybe 2 changes, right? And just all the rest of them you have to deal with. It's just insane to me. And like I say, maybe RobTop is working on all of this, and this will no longer be a problem in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, a year, whatever. That's great, but then tell people, right? And this is what's driven me up a wall with Rob since the start, is he's a game dev that I truly, up until this update, I believed listened to the community and implemented what was wanted. But he doesn't, like, communicate. And it's sort of... this is where I'm really realizing it. It's like, we could be looking at a game where we just have a ton of broken garbage sitting on the servers from forever ago. And Rob's response to that could be, too bad, so sad. And we'd never know. And Rob's response could be, oh shit, yeah, my bad, I'm working on fixing it. And we would also never know. So what do we assume, right? Do we give him the benefit of the doubt and say, well, maybe it's coming in a bug fix update? Or do we pull out our pitchforks and say, hey, listen, the playing community does not like this, right? Like this is not good. This is not good for the longevity of the game. This is not good for the health of the game. Like, something needs to be done. What do? We don't know, because Rob has not thrown us any bones. He just said, I'm gonna fix things. And then, like, left and tried to fix things. And that's all we got, right? That's all we got. So, yes, the physics changes are rough. I don't like the current solution. And I would love to know what Rob's thoughts actually are on the physics changes, and if he plans on actually giving us bona fide Legacy 2.1 physics, right? I hope he does. I really hope he does, and I hope I made my point clear as to why I hope he does. But I don't know. And consistency at the cost of consistency, there's no solution to that. It's happened. It's over. We're gonna have to live with that now. As players, you're just gonna have to live with any upside down ship. You're gonna have to guess. You're gonna have to figure it out. Flip a coin. Good luck. You can make an educated guess. Is it an old level or a new level? But you're gonna have to flip a coin. Have fun. That's the biggest thing that I wanted to kind of stress, right? And that's what really has been the most demotivating thing, is there's just a chance that any given level I play is not something I can beat right now. That sucks. That super sucks, right? I'm not a fan of that. Platformer was incredibly lackluster for me. I was not looking forward to Platformer anyway. I really, really like what GD had going for it pre 2.2, right? The very linear storytelling that GD sort of allowed for and pretty much forced. I mean, unless you really finagled some stuff and made a mini game, right? Like, there was a linear progression to how a level went, right? And I really, really enjoyed that, honestly. That was sort of what I loved about GD as, like, an art form, right? It was something that very few other games, if any, really have. And I mean, some rhythm games absolutely have a linear progression to them, but I wouldn't call them art pieces. Not in the same way I would call a Geometry Dash level an art piece. I mean, look at absolute masterpiece creations in this game, and, like, there's no denying that's art. That's incredibly talented. Like, that's work made by incredibly talented individuals who have poured hours and hours into this craft and gotten really good at making very compelling stories and experiences in this game. And I really did also like that there was a very clear focus on musicality in the game that I think other rhythm games sometimes fall short of, right? You can express ideas really well in Guitar Hero, Osu, DDR, whatever the fuck rhythm game it is, but you can really, really express how the music feels in Geometry Dash, right? And this is something that I think a lot of people sort of casually brush off about the game, like, oh, it's just a cute game, whatever. But, like, if you make a level well, the feeling of that level elevates the music, and the music elevates the level back, and you get something truly, like, transcendent at times, right? And not everyone thinks that, not everyone feels that, but that is how I feel about this game, and how I've always felt about all of the normal, classic levels in the game. So far, Platformer feels like a complete 180 in the opposite direction. It feels like GD had this really unique identity, and we just put, like, the exact opposite dude in the room. You know what I mean? Because Rob, instead of having this really cool musical aesthetic with, like, Newgrounds being sort of the main source for music, so you're getting a lot of, like, underground musicians, a lot of, like, indie musicians, lesser known stuff. You're kind of highlighting some of their work, seen some really cool artists get spotlighted in GD, and then I've gone and listened to their stuff in my free time, right? I really liked that about GD, and the Platformer update was accompanied with a whole library of royalty-free music, which, like, fine, I get it. I understand that that works really well with Platformer, but it sort of, like, spits in the face of the really unique musicality and, like, music scene that was kind of surrounding the game before, and now you just have like this whole library of like to choose from. And not to say that the people that make royalty-free music aren't in their own right musicians, but it really does kind of feel cheap, right? Like, it feels cheap and plastic and fake and gross to do so much to sort of champion, like, let's use interesting music from individual artists who are, like, kind of doing it as a passion project, to let's use Kevin MacLeod. Like, yeah, I love Kevin MacLeod as much as the next guy, and every now and then I've had the thought of, what if I made a funny, like, Kevin MacLeod layout? And I actually did in 2.2. I've started making a Kevin MacLeod layout. That's great, but the super heavy focus on royalty-free music in platformer just feels gross to me. It really does. It feels yucky, right? And I don't like, too, that the music is now background music. It's no longer like an accompanying part of the experience. It's just kind of happening in the background. I think Rob did an okay job using it, honestly. The boss fight music for the Cursed Thorn I thought was pretty solid. I'm like, okay, this is a good blend. It's a good balance of, like, the music's enhancing the experience. It's not just sitting in the background sort of existing. That's good. But obviously it's not going to be like everything synced up to the music, because why would it be, right? I thought that was an okay blend. I was like, that's fair. But what I've seen creators do is just go in and pick, like, Eerie Hallway Sound Effect 7, or, like, Eerie Hallway Ambience 7, and then make a level where there's, like, a screen effect and dark vision and pixel blocks. And it's like, this is early update stuff, but it's just so backwards from what GD's always been. And also, the whole gameplay mechanic, right, is completely different. It's platformer. It's like, it's a separate game. It could have been released as a separate title, right? And I think Stars and Moons separate is great, because then, yes, if you want to do star grinding, you can just do star grinding. If you want to do moon grinding, you can just do moon grinding, right? If you really like platformer, go to town on platformer. And if you really don't like platformer, you don't have to play it. Unless you care about grinding user coins or demons, because those are lumped in for both categories, and if you want to be at top of the leaderboards in those categories, you now have to adapt to this other game that was not at all the first game that you really enjoyed playing. Do you see why that's annoying? Right? Like, imagine there was, like, a leader, like, imagine, like, chess elo. Imagine, like, chess elo was determined by how good you are at chess. 90% how good you are at chess. And, like, 10% how good you are at, like, basketball. It's like, well, wait a minute. I did not sign up for basketball. I signed up for chess, right? Imagine the chess ELO rankings suddenly announced, we're going to have a pickup contest with all the chess grandmasters, and the winner is going to be the top of the ELO rankings. It's like, well, wait a minute. That's not even sort of what I wanted to happen here, right? Like, what? And Stars and Moons being separate was a great start for keeping that from not happening. But if you're a top-level demon or coin grinder right now, you're sort of forced to do both, unless you want to just fall down the leaderboard, right? Which is, like, again, not what the game was. Never been what the game was. It's not even, like, comparable experience-wise, skill-wise, like, gameplay-wise. It's a completely separate game. It just so happens to use the GD game modes, so it can be thrown in GD, right? I really don't like that. And I know on the one hand, it is just additional content and you can ignore it, right? And for most casual players, it doesn't really matter. But if you really, really care about, like, your demon count, your user coin count, whatever, you have to do both. You don't have a choice. Well, okay, your other choice is to fall down the leaderboard for not liking or not playing a fundamentally different game. Right? That seems so ass backwards in my mind, too. That just, like, blows my mind. I don't get it. So platformer as a whole has just been a nothing burger at best for me, right? It has truly felt like nothing. There was a tweet that I saw Inside make, and it was something like, my entire experience, this isn't a quote, this is a paraphrase, but it was something to the effect of, my entire experience with GD platformer has been so, like, mid, lackluster, whatever. The whole time I've been longing to play a better platformer. And that's exactly how I felt. Like, if I want to play a platformer, I'm gonna go play, like, Mario Maker, right? There's nothing that GD platformer has in it that makes me, as a player, want to play it. I understand that as a creator, GD is actually a really cool spot to make a really interesting platformer level, or make a really interesting platformer thing, because of the versatility of the editor. Absolutely. But as the player, it's not that enticing for me, right? Everything has been very boring, like fetch quests and like cryptic stuff. And I also don't like that everything's pixel block hell right now. Everything is pixel block hell. Obviously, that'll go away with time, but I don't like it to begin with. But again, that minor complaint, that'll go away with time. That happens at the start of every update. Everyone remade Geometrical Dominator and Deadlocked when 2.0 dropped. Like, we'll move on as a community, as a creating scene. We'll move on. But I really don't like it currently. But it's just like, if I want to play a platformer, I'm going to go play a platformer. I really felt like this should have been a separate release. Or just not added to the game to begin with. But a lot of people are having fun, so I get it. You know what I mean? Like, fair enough. If you like it, you like it. I just thought it would have done better as a separate thing, as a completely separate entity. I really did. Beyond that, there are some just kind of like annoying quality of life things that were frustrating to see. Disable Shake being gone for the beginning of the update. I understand the argument that some creators have had where it's like, well, disable Shake, it's like, well, but you're nerfing the level. It's like, okay, yeah, I suppose you're nerfing the level, right? But it's been a thing in the game since Shake triggers were introduced, right? Like, it's not like this was a thing we were asking Rob to please implement Disable Shake, please Rob, implement Disable Shake. And then, like, he caved and did, and now it's like, well, what's the whatever. Like, no, this has been here since day one. Like, shakes were added, and the Disable Shake checkbox in the settings was added, right? So it's not like it's nerfing the level if it's a default behavior of the game, right? Like, yes, is a level easier with... Is a level like 999 trillion out of 1 quadrillion times easier without Shake than with Shake? Yes, but that's in the vanilla game, so oh well. And it's a really useful accessibility feature for people, myself included, who really don't have strong eyes and for whom like crazy shaking or flashing effects can really sort of wear them out, right? I have astigmatism in both eyes. And something like Shake just being forced upon the player is not fun. Now, obviously, in a recent bug fix patch, Rob added back Disable Shake, but instead of being a universal setting, it's now a level-by-level setting. Which, on the surface, is kind of fine. I don't immediately hate that, right? If I'm the kind of, like, if I were the kind of player who, like, only wants to Disable Shake when it's really gratuitous, right? Like, it's really hampering my experience, then I can choose to, on a level-by-level basis, that's fine. But I would still love the option to always Disable Shake by default, like the option that existed in the game before the update. That would be great. That'd be pretty cool, right? I don't know why we took that away. And now, if you want to do LDM or Disable Shake, you have to open a whole menu for 2 things. It's like, no, just put 2 checkboxes down there. You had room above the low detail mode checkbox for the Disable Shake checkbox, and maybe he's going to add more stuff. I don't know. But I'm like, have a universal setting somewhere in the main settings menu so I don't have to go into that menu every time to Disable Shake to play the level. You know what I mean? It's just like, tiny little thing. It's just like, this is pointless. This is only irritating, right? This is only annoying. There's been some annoying things with game crashes happening. The bug fix update that was pushed recently added a game crash where if you leave a level too quickly, like if you leave a level while like coins are showing up or while stars are showing up like on the end screen, you're like the stars kind of like fade in and zoom into place. If you leave a level while it's happening, I think just about every time the game crashes, which has been annoying for me. Obviously, I'm sure it's an easy fix for Rob, and I'm sure it's already been fixed, and the next update will fix it, right? Like, surely, but it is kind of an annoying thing that's been somewhat demotivating, because I'm like, I can't stream star grinding if my game's gonna crash every time I leave a level, right? I have 100,000 stars of learned behavior to leave the level as soon as I can. Like, I'm going to crash the game on stream. That's just annoying. So I don't love that. It's not a big thing. Like I say, Rob's fixed it, but it's still annoying. And another gripe, I could have sworn on my life that Rob had confirmed, whether it be to some of the mods or out loud publicly, that there was going to be daily replay functionality in 2.2. And that's just not the case. He added the vault, where you can see the server version of every daily and weekly level, which doesn't matter. That's not helpful or useful in any capacity. All that does is let me see what dailies and weeklies I've missed. So top-level star grinding is just as inaccessible as it's always been, and that was something I was really excited for with this update. I was like, top-level star grinding is going to get broken open, because if you missed a daily or a weekly, no sweat, you can go back and play it. And maybe you had to pay some orbs or diamonds, I don't know. But like, if you can go back and replay dailies and weeklies, top-level star grinding just got competitive. Because someone like Smithy, who's like pretty much never missed any, right, no longer has the massive advantage that he has just kind of by default, right? If I want to get into star grinding, but I haven't played in a while, or I'm a completely new player and I have aspirations of getting there, it's not completely inaccessible to me anymore, right? But the Vault didn't do that. The Vault, legitimately, it did nothing. It just stores a list of all the levels that were daily and shows you the server versions of them so you can pretend you're getting the stars you missed, which was just annoying. To me, that was one of the big things I was looking forward to, and it just didn't happen, which was just such a letdown, right? But, I don't know. All in all, I'm really not happy with how this update went. I understand that there are a lot of people for whom this update was a massive, massive plus, and they loved everything about it, and it's so cool, and we're gonna get to make new shit, and they're not bugged by the physics changes, and they really liked the platformer, and the quality of life stuff didn't matter because they never turn on the LDM anyway, right? Like, that's great. But this update really felt like it completely pushed an entire subset of the community to the wayside in favor of Rob just kind of doing what he wanted to do. Which, like, hey, it's his game. That's fair. But I really, really hope Rob realizes that things like not allowing legacy physics, breaking a bunch of extremes, capping FPS at 240 instead of the 360 we've had and has been endorsed by RobTop, as he has rated levels only beaten on 360 for years, right? I really hope he understands that doing that is only going to hamper the game. Damper. Put a damper on. Whatever. The game and its community. Because as much as you want to standardize the game, make it a level playing field, it already kind of was. Sort of. I mean, I understand now that mobile players have just had a huge boost in capabilities because of the physics changes, right? But capping everything at 240 means that top-level play just got harder. Right? Like, I'm pretty sure considerably harder. Surely. Right? And breaking levels makes top-level play temporarily, like, not possible, right? Like, if I want to beat some extremes, I have to very selectively choose the ones that function right now, right? It's just like, it's so clear that an entire section of the community that sort of brought about the game's, mainstream popularity, really. I mean, think about it. If Nepesta doesn't grind all of the attempts he did into Kinos and beat that level, where would GD be today? Right? I mean, people would be playing it, but it surely would not be as big a community as it was. And I mean, think about any large completion, right? Any new top 1 or top 10 demon list, like any crazy hard accomplishment, that launched the game forward, right? Both difficulty-wise, popularity-wise, right? Like, the fact that that whole sort of contributing factor to the success of this game feels completely ignored by this update makes me so genuinely sad. Right? It is. It's just a really depressing fact that this subset of the community that was so passionate about the game, passionate enough to sit down in front of the hardest challenges ever conceived in the game and pour hours upon days, upon weeks, upon months, upon years into completing them, has just been completely shafted by this entire experience. It's really depressing. It's really depressing. It feels entirely unjust, and I sincerely hope that something is done to actually listen to sort of the hopes and demands and wants of those individuals, those players, that community, right? Because I personally don't think that the correct solution is saying suck it up and deal. I really don't. I really think that's not classy. That's sort of petty. It feels very targeted and angry and harsh, and I do not like it. And like I say, there's a chance that Rob has heard all of this feedback and is actively working to better the situation. But, Rob, I'm telling you, it will go so far if you just say that out loud. If you say, listen, I've heard the complaints. I understand people want 360. I understand that the physics are very broken. I'm working to fix it. If you say that, what I just said, out loud, that will go so far in the long run. You have no idea. I sincerely hope, I really do, that there is some good change to come out of this, and that my rambling hasn't been completely pointless. Whether you share my opinions or not, I hope you at least understand where I'm coming from on all of this. And if you did manage to sit through all, Jesus Christ, 35 minutes of this, holy fuck. If you did manage to sit through all of this, thank you so much for hearing what I have to say. For the few people that I do know very much enjoy a good Pie Guy rant, I hope this was good late night meal accompaniment. But yeah, I needed to put my thoughts out there, and I also, like I said, I wanted to explain where I've been, how I felt about the game. I'm just really, really not happy with it at the moment. I've felt super demotivated. I have not wanted to play an Extreme since the update dropped, and that makes me really sad. That makes me really sad, because this was a game that was very comforting for me. It was very consistent, right? It was consistent. The game worked how the game worked. You could go play it, and it was the same game. And now there's a whole nother game, and the physics are broken, and quality of life shit's broken. It's just, right now, the whole game feels like it's in turmoil to me. And I know a lot of people are looking at that, and that feels like a huge opportunity to change the game and make something super new and interesting, but to me, it just feels like the game has lost its identity. It really does. It feels like the entire game has just lost what it's about, fundamentally. Just completely lost sight of sort of the point. And I know for a fact I'm not the only person that feels that way. So I hope, for my sake and for the people who agree with me's sake, I've done a good enough job explaining why we feel that way. I really do. And on the off chance anyone in a position to do anything meaningful sees this video, please, for the love of God, please, pretty please, do something about it. Because I love this game. At least I did. And I want to love it again. But I can't say I do right now. And that's really sad. That's really upsetting. I want to fall in love with this game again. But I'm really not seeing the vision right now. I'm not seeing a very good end point here. I really, really hope that some concrete change is made in the positive direction for all parties involved. For everyone involved. I really do. I really, really do. I guess that is all I'm going to say on the matter. That's going to be the end of the Pie Guy rant. Please let me know what you thought in the comments. If you just picked and chose little parts to listen to, or if you listened to the whole thing, whatever, I would love to know your thoughts. But that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm going to stop this before we hit 38 minutes. Jesus Christ, I'm going to cut the recording here now.